Media and Global Television. My name is Godwin Sunday. Well, the Independent National Electoral Commission on Tuesday raised concerns over the petition for the recall of suspended senator representing Kogi Central Natasha'S. The commission, in a statement signed by its National Commissioner on Chairman, Information and Voters Education Committee, Sam Olumeku, acknowledged receiving the petition, which includes 6 bags of documents that are said to contain signatures from more than half of the 474,000 registered voters in the district. However, Inec pointed out that the petitioners failed to provide the necessary contact information, such as their address, phone numbers, and email address as required under the Commission's regulations and guidelines for the recall 2024. Well, joining me to look and x-ray some of the issues surrounding this issue is Barrister Balogun, who is a legal practitioner. Of course, by barrister, it simply means the legal practitioner. That you join me to talk about this issue. But first, let me welcome you to Global Morning, Barrister Balogun.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show with you.
All right, so Barrister Balogun, looking at all of these conversations right now, Inec commit suspend due, saying that the Natasha'S case does not meet certain requirements. But looking at all these incidents that led even to the recall process, what do you make of this whole development?
Okay, we have been sitting and watching, the whole drama as it's been unfolding regarding this recall process of Senator Natasha. Now, as the whole process, immediately commenced, I recalled the incidents of Senator Dino Melaye when there was an attempt to recall him, and there were certain stumbling blocks, and somehow we're also beginning to have the same issue. One of the most difficult things to do in this our political system is to recall a senator or a House of Reps member. It's not as easy as just going to sign papers and all that. Now, we can see that apart from the rejection by Inec, there are so many complications that are already coming in. First of all, there are videos everywhere online showing that most of the persons, in fact, I actually saw so many videos where persons came out and said, yes, we came out to sign, but that is not what we were told. We were not told that we are coming to recall a senator or to sign for her recall. They said they came with a program, and a kind of empowerment program, and that's what they signed for. That's actually, I saw no less than 10 interviews on that said that is all they came in for. We came, it was an empowerment program, they said they will give us money and all that, and they signed. And then there are videos online now showing them trying to trace people's signature. I don't know if you saw some of those videos, so you know that some of all these petitions are actually made up. They are not genuine. It's just this desperation to get her out of office. Now, they have met a kind of a major brick wall now. You have sent over 250,000. Good, that's even a reminder again now. You say you have 250,000 petition to remove her. Now, last 2 years, we had an election that brought in Natasha as the senator representing Kogi Central. In the entire results combined, we had just 104,000 voters.
104,000
voters combined. When I say combined, including the PDP, APC, everybody, Labour Party, 104,000. Then suddenly, for recall alone now, just for recall, we have 250,000 votes. Where did we have 350,000 petitions. Where did they suddenly appear from? This now shows that there's a lot of ingenuity, there's a lot of insincerity about this recall process. It means there is something to it more than the ordinary. All right, now you signed petition, you took it to Inec. The people who are coordinating the petition, those who took it to Inec, the lead person among them is not even from Kogi Central. is seen, though I don't know if it's on record, but she's seen as an appointee of the sitting government.
Okay.
Good. So now, how do you substantiate this with all that? Now you have now met a major brick wall that says this document you submitted, it's not according to the guidelines of Inec. You are supposed to have phone numbers, we're supposed to have emails, we're supposed to have addresses of people, such that, because there is still a higher level of this that Inec have not gotten to, which for me is actually going to be the breaking point. You know, if they're able to scale through this stage now, the next stage, which is the very crucial stage, in fact, that was the stage where the Senator Dino's recall ended. Now, Inec will still have to go back to the field, and every single person that signed will have to come and say, yes, I signed this paper, it is me. When you do that, Inec confirms it. Now, that is the stage where, you know, the honesty or the dishonesty will now come in, where many people will come and say, no, I didn't do this, I don't know about this. It is by then you now realize some of the persons who have not signed have been dead long ago. Yes, we get to that point. You realize people who probably don't even live in Kogi State are probably not in the country again. They will now come and substantiate this. You realize that nobody is there to show up. So we are still getting to, the drama has not even started, if you would ask me. We have not gotten to the real stage where INEC will tell you, come and confirm that yes, you are the one that signed this. There's already a big swirl now that says that the documents you submitted, there's a major lapse. We don't have the identity of the people. We don't, okay, we have their name, but we don't have their address, we don't have their phone number, we don't have their email. How do we contact them? So, well, from what INEC said, it is still something they can correct. You can still go back, take all the necessary information. But then, I'm still looking at the larger picture. Do they think, or with all the discrepancies, all the insincerity here and there, do they think they can scale through with this recall? For me, to a large extent, except there are external forces that are intervening, with the way it is a near impossibility for you to say you want to recall a senator or a House of Rep member in Nigeria.
Okay, so let's even look at the recall process in itself, in its entirety. First, we thought that the recall was going to be like it's going to lag behind. It's going to have more of a still. It started like a rumor first, then it now metamorphosed into becoming a reality. All of this process. But what do you make of the timing for the timing it took for them to sign and the time it took them to have that number of people? 200,000 plus people that came out to sign the petition. What do you make of the timing?
You know, it's just that all these things boils down to politics. We know it's all politics. It is impossible for you to have 250,000 people within that period. Now, I just made reference to the election. Election is actually more, it calls people more, it draws people more, there's a lot of noise. And Kogi State senatorial election is also it's not the off season, it's in the main season. So at that time, we have more crowd, we have more people. And then the entirety of the people that came out is 104,000. Now, in a season that we will call, that INEC will call off season, we now have 250,000 people coming out or allegedly coming out. It shows that, see, there is something wrong. These people are not being honest about it. And the videos go a long way to show that most of these signings were done within the confines of a room. Some people just sat down tracing people's signature and doing all that. So there's so much insincerity in this. It is impossible. See, it is impossible in Nigeria, in an off season like this, for a recall process, for you to gather 100,000 even in a month. If you'd ask me, for you to gather 100,000 signatures for recall in a month, it's a near impossibility. And then now, in less than a week, we have over 250,000 persons coming out to say that, or allegedly coming out to say that we want a senator to be recalled. It actually goes a long way to show that there's a level of insincerity. There's a high level of insincerity in the recall process.
All right. So let's even talk about this recall process again. Looking at Senator Natasha'S. You mentioned 2 years ago that election happened. That was on February 25th,
Yes.
2023. All right. So after that election, it's possible that a lot of people have gone out there to get their PVCs. A lot of people have clocked 18 and beyond. We can't rule out that possibility of them going out to get their PVC register, and the number has expanded. And it could be that it's the expanded numbers that was also captured. Is there no possibility for this? Or was it under the Lord? Is it that people that voted in that election are the only people that can do the recall?
Now, it's not those that voted in the election. It's the number of registered voters in that place that can do the recall. Now, the number of registered voters in that place, from the record, I think is a little over 400,000 persons. Now, but in the last 2 years, there has not been any continuous registration by Inec. Inec has not conducted any registration of persons who were not previously registered. So even if you had clocked 18 within the last 2 years, it's not possible that you are now on the list. You know, it's usually during the season, the election season. That is when we would have issue of people registering, people of collecting their PVC, people maybe you relocated, you want to change. I remember during the last election, just about few months to the election, I was able to relocate my polling unit from Delta State, you know, to the FCT. So those things happen during the main election. So nobody rather can say that in the last 2 years I was registered and I now joined the number. No. In the last 2 years since the election, there has not been any announcement by Inec, and none has happened that people above 18 were now registered, and you know, any other thing to increase the number beyond the 400,000 that have been registered. So it's for me, it's impossible that it's additional persons that came on board and all that. No, it's still the same 400,000 plus that have been registered under Kogi State Central. It's still from that list that we have those that came up and said, or that we have those that allegedly came up and said that they have been part of the recall process. There is no new registration within the period.
So we can't rule out that possibility. Of course, INEC have not come out to say that there have not been that numbers of people. But then, could there be a possibility also that a lot of people within that senatorial district have their PVCs but didn't just want to come out for the presidential election due to a lot of factors, and right now they recall due to the fact that they are not satisfied with some of the things that the senator is delivering within that constituency, they now decide to come out in March? Is there a possibility for this?
Yes, there's a possibility. I'm not ruling out a possibility. Yes, I'm not ruling out the fact that probably people are not satisfied, there's a lot of disaffection. I'm not ruling that out. In fact, I'm not ruling out the fact that 400,000 people can actually come out and say that we want to sign a petition. I'm not ruling that out. It can happen. It can happen. It's their right, it's their constitutional right to vote and also to recall a senator. I'm not ruling it out. But the issue is, how practicable could that be within the less than 2 weeks that all this happened, that you'll be able to gather this much signature? That's just my issue. Within 2 weeks, something that is of no financial benefit to you, something that is of no direct benefit to you, within 2 weeks 250 persons will now come out. You know, there are times where if you want to do something, you have to do it in a way that people will see and be convinced. Now, during the elections, we see people on the queues. You see them voting, you see long queues, people voting, go to different polling units, you see all that, people. But did we see videos or pictures of people coming out and saying, yes, we are part of this recall, we want to recall the senator? We didn't see anything like that. You know, that would have even been a very strong evidence to say, yes, indeed, 250,000 people came out. But we didn't see anything like that. You just see a pocket of videos, just few that said, okay, yes, we want to recall, we are not satisfied with her performance. But let us see it that there are people on the queue that says, yes, we came in, we came out, we want to sign. You don't see it. When there are elections, you see people on the queue and you see people voting and they will come out, yes, we have voted. Let us also see something like that in this recall process that says, yes, I was part of the recall, I came out, I signed the document. So I'm not ruling out the fact that 400,000 people can come out and say, yes, it's their constitutional right. But then let us see evidence to prove, videos, pictures to say, yes, we actually came out to recall our senator.
All right, so before we even come back, let's look at another discourse, still revolving around Natasha'S. Of course, part of the reasons that led to the recall, so let's put the issues in perspective, is one of the issues that led to the recall of Natasha is the fact that a lot of drama played out in the National Assembly some couple of weeks ago. And of course, part of that drama was a seating arrangement by where she was asked to move to another sitting position due to the fact that some senators have decamped or moved from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress, which is the ruling party, and that was all that. Of course, she had to air a view that she wasn't going to move, and from there we saw what played out. She was asked not to speak, and thereafter a disciplinary committee was set up and she was suspended for 6 months. And of course, despite the suspension, she didn't have sworn anytime soon, and we saw what happened. She went to the International Parliamentary Union to air her displeasure over the way she's been treated in the Nigerian Senate. And not just that, she also accused the Nigerian senator and Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexually harassing her. And of course, many lawyers of course have come out to say that if she has the evidence, she should bring them out so they can see also to know and their own angle to the story. But then why am I bringing all this backdrop right now? Because I want to find out, there's a case Natasha raised right now which borders on the Nigerian Legal Disciplinary Committee, which raised against Senator Maswen. So he said that he has been disbarred in New York by the Supreme Court of America from practicing, but he's still a lawyer in Nigeria and a practicing lawyer in Nigeria. So that's why I'm bringing all of this, and she is taking that matter to the Nigerian Disciplinary Committee for them to disbar him from the profession, since there is a justia to that particular case. But from the legal perspective, can this hold water?
Okay, I am actually not happy, that the matter that probably started as something very simple is beginning to grow wild. It's like a little fire that started on a lighter or on a matchstick, and then gradually we are beginning to set the forest on fire. It started small, started with sitting arrangements. Before you know what, it became allegation of sexual harassment. Before you know what, suspension for 6 months. And then, there were also derogatory remarks that led to a defamatory suit, against the Senate President and some persons that made the comments, and all that. Something that started very little and then it's growing wild. It's going wild. As we speak now, I think we have no less than 4 or 5 suits, that have been instituted. At the end of the day, the way things are going, we may still end up at a round table, because everybody cannot keep, trying to pull the trigger. Everybody's trying to wear a hand glove, a boxing glove. We cannot continue like that. The trend is quite unfortunate. There's a video that had been circulating, online yesterday. I think Sahara Reporters carried it, where there was an altercation between a senator and former Minister of Education. Yes, it's quite embarrassing, and all these things are actually coming out, or it's still flowing from this Natasha'S saga. It's still from, so it's like the forest is actually on fire as we speak. Everywhere is actually burning on this same issue. Now, on the issue of the senator, it's quite unfortunate that the matter is getting this, like I said, but then she has her rights. If she has her evidence to bring a petition, from what I gathered, her petition is before the legal practitioner disciplinary committee. Yes, and then to say this person has been disbarred in the New York, he cannot practice there, having committed such offense over there, he should also not be regarded as a lawyer in Nigeria, or he should not be allowed to practice as a lawyer in Nigeria. For me, considering the situation on the ground, I feel that the timing of that action that she's taking is not too good. It's not proper for me. What is the necessity at this point? How does it solve the problem on ground? How does it deal with the issue? It's like the whole fight is going beyond the issue of sexual harassment, is going beyond the issue of defamatory comments, is going beyond the issue of suspension. We are now beginning to get personal. It's beginning to become malicious. People getting after the other person's personal issues that have nothing to do with national concern. And that is actually one of the things, people who started this recall process, that is actually what they are lashing on. They are saying our senator is distracted, she's not delivering, she's doing this, she's doing that. They're actually lashing on it to say this is the reason why we are commencing a recall process against her, because she seemed not to be doing anything. I won't say yes to that, but then for me, I feel that she's becoming distracted. For example, now at this point, the matter before the LPDC against that senator is not necessary. You can bring it up some other time, probably when things are, but not at this point. In a way, it seems that you are now building more enemies. People who probably would want to stand behind you might want to shift now and say, I don't understand where this fight is going to. I don't understand the direction in which you are taking it. This issue you are raising is actually not part of what we are trying to fight. So I don't know. It's not that an action should not be taken. Somebody who has been disbarred in a particular jurisdiction should not come to another jurisdiction and be claiming, yes, I can stand, yes, it's an issue, but for me, the timing is not proper.
So invariably you say that if a person has been disbarred in New York by the Supreme Court of New York as of 2010, he can still practice in Nigeria as a lawyer.
Well, he can still practice in Nigeria as a lawyer because he was not disbarred from Nigeria's Bar Association. No, not Nigeria Bar. He wasn't disbarred, or his name was not removed or suspended from the Supreme Court, from the roll call of lawyers in Nigeria. So his being disbarred in the US does not mean he cannot practice in Nigeria. That just affects, and mind you, it just affects its state in the United States of America and not the entire
Supreme Court of America was
except that.
Yeah, except that. I had a case on that.
Except that. But for me, that does not affect his practice of law in Nigeria. Except if, like she's doing now, she brings it to Nigeria and say, okay, this is what this person did in the United States. If the legal practitioners disciplinary committee looks at it and say, your action, whatever you did in the US, affects you as a person, affects your practice, you would also be suspended here in Nigeria, fine. It is their discretion. They can take a decision. I would not want to say anything to say to affect whatever decision they want to take. So let them look at it. But for me, having been suspended in the United States does not stop him from practicing as a lawyer in Nigeria, except there is also a suspension to his license or to his practice in Nigeria.
So speaking of one of the source of which the recall process was initiated. Even a lot of people said that she has not been delivering in Kogi Central. But again, we've seen another argument that says that she's one of the best senators that they've ever had in the whole of Kogi Central. So far, our achievements are laudable. But looking at the two sides of this divide, and we've seen a protest for Natasha, we see that's a pro-Natasha protest, and we see an anti-Natasha protest. We've seen people come out from the two sides of the divide to say, hey, please just allow her be. But this whole petition, don't you think to a very large extent is an attack on a person due to the fact that the former governor of Kogi State didn't want her to be the senator for the Kogi Central, but she invariably she emerged as the senator? Could this be an evolutionary attack from a previous administration?
Okay, you would know if you follow history, like I earlier mentioned, Kogi State seemed to be one state where this issue of recall of senators have been. Kogi State seemed to be prominent when it comes to this attempt to recall a senator. Kogi State was the first to attempt to remove Senator Dino Melaye, and though off record, but we know it was heavily championed by the then governor of the state, former governor Yahaya Bello, though off record. But then we know he was solidly behind the attempts to get him out of office. So it appears that Kogi State seemed to be at the forefront of this kind of action. So now you can see her antecedents, what she went through from the beginning. An election that she won, clearly won. Someone else was declared the winner. She went to the tribunal, and tribunal said she won the election. They went on appeal, and the Court of Appeal affirmed the decision of the tribunal and said Senator Natasha was duly elected as the senator to represent Kogi Central. So now it's not, you see, the battle she's fighting now is not something that started today. She has actually been fighting from the beginning, from the election. She got her victory from the court. And then now, for one to make a blanket statement and say that she's not been performing, I would strongly disagree with that statement. You know, you would know that that statement is actually drawn out of politics and not because she's not delivering. It's just a political statement. I can boldly say that Senator Natasha is one of the best performing senators. Now, I'm not saying this, out of maybe any personal interest, but I'm saying it because that is what it is. Her performance is not just something that started when she came into office. She has been very, very active in the political scene in Kogi State even before she became a senator. Even before she started vying for offices. She vied for office in 2019 under the Social Democratic Party, SDP. That same year she also contested for the office of the governor, also under the SDP. So, and even before that, she had been involved in trying to see how to get Ajaokuta Steel Company to get it on board. At least I know very much about her efforts there. That's when there were meetings she had in Russia. I remember the videos were everywhere where she was at that meeting with former governor of Kaduna State, Governor El-Rufai, and some other, including the former minister of solid minerals, former Governor Fayemi. These are steps that she had taken even before she became a senator to get this Ajaokuta steel company running. Now, for her now to be in office and you say she's not performing, I don't know. It seemed not to follow well. So for me, if you would ask, I would say she's been one of the best performing senators in Nigeria. The records are there to show. Now, coming in and saying she's not doing anything, she's not performing, she's just there, she's just fighting. If you would ask me, I would say that is a political statement made by an opposition made just to frustrate her stay, and also made, to enhance the recall process. I can assure you, though the possibility is not there, that if this recall succeeds, we are almost 100% sure of the person that will get the tickets to continue her stay, to continue her tenure in office. I can almost beat my chest on who will get the ticket. So, well, let me not go into that, and let me not go into that. That's more of speculation. But then, no one has any justifiable reason or justification to say that Senator Natasha is not a performing senator. You cannot say that. You cannot say that. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as the records are there to show, she's one of the best performing senators, and not just best performing, one of the closest senators to her people in her constituency. She's one of the closest to her people, because she's not the Abuja sitting senator. She's the type that goes back to her people. The records are there. So let's not just sit down and say she's not doing anything. It's a political statement. It's a political statement to see how to downgrade her and let whoever to see how to frustrate her out of office. It's a political statement.
All right, let me agree with you that that's a political statement, because, like you rightly said, the fact speaks for itself. But then again, this recall process, she is a lawyer, and of course, I understand she's a lawyer. I don't know my facts are right, but then all of this dramas that has been unfolded, even the recall process that we saw, we thought that the Nigerian Bar Association will also want to speak up on this issue, or try to even stand for one of its own in this particular matter, or want to intervene in the matter between Godswill Akpabio, who is a lawyer, and also Natasha'S, even from the legal angle. But we've not seen any of this. Could it be that the Nigerian Bar Association is distancing itself when its own is having a challenge?
Okay, I wouldn't say that the Nigerian Bar Association is distancing itself. Number one, which is a very important issue, is the fact that all these matters, these issues are sub judice. That is, they are all before the various courts of competent jurisdiction. So now that these matters are in court, it is not proper, for the NBA or for any organization to take sides and say, oh, we are for Natasha or we are for Akpabio and all that. And of course, like you rightly said, they are both legal practitioners. If the NBA decides to take a position, this might actually bring controversy to the NBA, because then the NBA, you see people who will justify the position of the Senate President. You also find people who will justify the position of Senator Natasha. So, in the interest of justice, and also to align itself with the position of the law that says once a matter is sub judice, you don't take position, you don't side, you don't support any side. I believe that is one reason why the NBA would be in the best position not to say anything.
To just be neutral.
Yes, to just be neutral. Let the courts decide. The place that we have gotten to now is a place where let the courts do what they want to do. If is it in the issue of defamation, it's before the court. Issue of sexual harassment is before the court. Issue of the recall is also before the court. There was a ruling stopping. There was an order of the court stopping the recall, and then there was also another order shortly after, I think about a week or 2 weeks after, saying let the recall process continue. So now that all these issues are before the court, it's best that the NBA would sit and watch. They can intervene to be intermediaries between the parties. They can come in and say, okay, we want to mediate. Yes, nothing stops them. They can also make a statement and say, okay, these persons are members of the Nigerian Bar Association, we want to mediate. But to take a position and say, we are supporting this person is right, this person is wrong, it would be improper for the NBA to do that. For example, now we can see what happened in Rivers State. NBA made a statement. If the action had been in court, it would have been, okay, this matter is already in court, we cannot make a statement. But immediately it happened, the NBA took a position and said, this action that have been taken, there are guidelines, there is a constitutional provision for it, and that is why NBA took a position immediately. They stood by what the constitution had said. So for me, the NBA best remain silent on this issue, except they are coming in as mediators between the parties.
So we'll not say, even as coming in as a mediator in this particular issue, we've not even seen the NBA come out to mediate, even provide advisory or play an advisory role in this matter. The NBA just went mute. So one will begin to question the integrity of the NBA. Could this be why a lot of lawyers will want to flaunt some of the NBA rules, even as it stands right now? Two lawyers are having issues. Would it be fine or perfect if the NBA intervene and mediate between the both parties, calling them to order, because the legal profession is at stake at this moment? The profession which is being regarded as a noble profession. The practitioners are known as noble gentlemen and the gentle lady on skirt. I don't know how lawyers call that. Gentlemen on skirt, I beg your pardon. A gentleman on skirt. One should feel that the NBA coming into the matter can even best address some of this concern, and in the cases of the recall will be stalled. Even that of the Senate President taking the cases out of court, that of defamation, that of the harassment, can be taken out of court and settled out of court if the NBA intervene. Now, I'm asking because Nigerians are looking at it from this angle, that if the NBAs are alive to its responsibility to a very large extent, these old Natasha issues would not even get to this point if lawyers intervene. But then you are a practitioner, or you are a practitioner, and you're here. So that's why I'm trying to get this angle to the story. So then let's look at it again. Will the NBA mediating in this issue, will it amount to NBA taking side in the story?
Okay, for the NBA, I would want to first mention again, don't forget that the NBA is an association.
Yes.
Yes, and being an association, membership of associations in Nigeria is voluntary. So, yes, it's voluntary. Now, the Senator Natasha we're talking about, yes, is a lawyer, but to the best of my knowledge, she's not a practicing lawyer. Yes, I know she has been called to the bar. I think I know one or two persons that they were called together the same year. But to the best of my knowledge, and the few years that I've known her, she's not practicing as a lawyer in Nigeria. So then she might come up and say, I'm not a member of the NBA. We actually have lawyers in Nigeria that will say, I am not a member of the Nigerian Bar Association. That is one. No, well, you can still practice.
Appear before the court.
You can appear before the court. It's an association. Now, we currently also have another association that also houses lawyers in Nigeria. So now, Senator Akpabio, now the Senate President. Well, I don't know so much of his antecedents, but you would agree with me that in the last, let's say, close to 20 years or thereabout, he too has also not been practicing, because for the last couple of years he has been in government. The last close to, I think, 8 years now, he was in the Senate. 8 years before that, he was a governor, and then even before he became a governor, I think he was a secretary to the government. So talking about the last 20 years or more, I'm not sure he has also been in the practice of law, regular practice lawyer that goes to court and all that. So don't be surprised if neither of them have been paying their practicing fees, they have been associating with NBA and all that. So then we must say that the position NBA takes, they would have to be very careful. Let us be sure that they are our people, they belong to us. Now, I wouldn't want to be an advocate for NBA. At the same time, I wouldn't want to say that they are not doing the right thing or they are doing the wrong thing. For me, the position they are taking, or they have taken so far, the silence that they have given to this issue, if you would ask me, is actually best. Because these matters are already in court. The proper thing is, once these matters are in court, let's just leave it. Let the court decide. It still would not stop them, like I said, it still would not stop them from approaching either party and say, see, this matter is becoming ugly. It's becoming, the forest is already on fire, like I said earlier. Let's see how we can discuss this thing. It doesn't stop NBA from doing that. I wouldn't know rather. It's even possible that discussions are going on. It's possible. So let's not just say that they are mute, they are not doing anything, they are not saying anything. Let's not say that. Discussion might be going on underground. Mediation, reconciliation, let us see how to discuss this thing. Let us see how to, everybody shields your sword, and let's discuss this thing. This dragging will not, it will not help anybody. It will not help anybody. It will only be setting the bush on fire.
All right, thank you for that clarity. Although you said you're not going to be the mouthpiece of the MPA for this particular conversation, but then let's even return back to the conversation on Natasha recall petition. Of course, it's becoming dirtier. We saw what transpired just yesterday between the former Minister of Education and a senator, like you mentioned before now. But it's getting even worse, because we don't know, everybody's keeping their fingers crossed, not knowing the next evolution that is going to come out from this whole conversation. But on this recall petition right now, I believe you've gone through the Inec Act and you understand some of the modalities for this act. If Inec is able to provide, the petitioners are able to provide enough details, contact address, emails, phone numbers of the over 200,000 petitioners, is there still a possibility that this petition will go through? And again, when this happens, if that's the first side, on the second side is, if this happens, will Inec at that point be able to now say, hey, we'll start sending emails to this person, inviting them to, or how will the process be? What is the interpretation to that particular section in Inec Act?
Okay, now the Inec guidelines, provides for how a recall should be done. Now, the step they have taken now is to get the signatures, petitions of persons who are calling for a recall. Fine, that's like the first step. Now there's already a problem with that first step, and INEC has said, okay, there is a problem with what you have done. You did not provide this, you did not provide this, you did not provide that. What they would do, or what I would expect they would do, is to retrieve the petitions and go and do the right thing. Yes, okay, we did not provide this. If you can get all the petitioners, let them provide the information. Good. You see, if that succeeds, the next step, which I regard as the most crucial one, in fact, this is the step where it is almost impossible. This is the step where it will take a lot of people who actually said, yes, we signed. It is at this point. This was the same point that it got to when they were to recall Senator Dino, and the whole process ended. His own had dragged, had gone to court, even to the Supreme Court, and then they said, I think, was it the Court of Appeal now that ruled and said the recall process was in order, let them continue at the stage they had gotten to. And INEC said, okay. INEC now fixed a date and said, this is the date. Everybody who signed the petition, come. And you will sit before us and say, yes, I did it. And it's more like you are coming to confirm what you have done.
That was a funny scenario. Yeah.
You understand?
I recall.
Yes. Come and confirm what you have done. I remember I was watching it on TV where the INEC official said, we called people and people did not show up. And at this point, failure of people to show up, the recall automatically comes to an end. that was how the recall process of Senator Dino came to an end. Now, I also foresee the same situation happening in this case. We already have a situation report that shows that a good number of the petitions were forged, or people were deceived, and all that. So at that point, when it will come and confirm what you have done, I think that is where the problem will be. At the end of the day, I can almost beat my chest and say you may not have as much as 5,000 persons coming up to say that yes, I am the one that did it and I'm ready to stand by it. So
the position of the law, does it give a particular ratio, probably 2/3 of the general electorate that can sign for a recall? What's the percentage in law?
I think I am not very sure now, but from the records, I think it is. You should have. I'm not very sure, but I think you should have more than 50% of the persons. Of the electorate, of the persons that are registered within that constituency. I'm not very sure, but I think that is the number, but I can confirm that. But I think the requirement is you must have not less than 50% of the persons that are registered, of the registered number of voters in that constituency for you to recall a senator. So what they have on record is about 400,000 persons registered in that federal constituency, in that senatorial constituency, and then that is why we now have about 250,000 petitions, which is just a little over 50% of the total number of 400,000. So I'm not 100% sure of that, but I believe it's above 50% of the number of registered voters in that constituency. So having that number now, having 250 now, you have met with the required numbers. But then, how possible it is for you to now have that 250 persons coming back to sit before Inec and say, yes, we signed it and we are ready to stand by it.
But Balogun, the way you were smiling about it, it looks like a near impossible mission. That, like you will not see this go through at all from your own angle.
It's for me, it's almost impossible. But you see, unfortunately, in Nigeria, we see some things that should not be. We see it happening. You see, in Nigeria, we see red and we call it black. We see white and we call it green. We have seen it happen. I wouldn't want to make reference to incidents, but we have seen where they turn things around in Nigeria. If INEC will be honest and stand by its records, if INEC will not allow itself to be influenced, if INEC is also ready to do this next process before the public, let me say, do it on live TV. Every person that said yes, let them come on live TV and say yes. If they are ready to do that in all honesty, then I can almost say it is impossible. It would not happen. I can almost beat my chest to say that you will not have 5,000 persons come out to defend whatever has been signed.
Well, people from Kogi Central will likely not agree with you, but Barrister Balogun, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, more conversation even on Global Morning. Please stay with us as the show continues in a moment.